What if the person you overlooked every day could shatter everything you've worked for? At Greenwood and Associates, the executives in sharp suits walked with confidence, while cleaners like Emily Carter remained invisible, unnoticed by those in power. But soon, the ones at the top would learn the cost of underestimating those they deemed insignificant. Subscribe and enjoy. The story. In the heart of San Francisco, nestled between towering glass skyscrapers, stood Greenwood and Associates, a consulting firm renowned for its expertise in helping tech companies scale. Known for its high profit of clients and lucrative deals, the firm attracted some of the best minds in the industry. But within this elite establishment, employees from lower ranks, such as the janitorial and administrative staff, were often overlooked, treated as mere cogs in the machine. Emily Carter was one of those overlooked employees, though her story was far from ordinary. Emily had recently started working as a janitor at Greenwood and Associates. Wearing the standard navy blue uniform with her hair neatly tied back and a cleaning cart in tow, she blended into the background, unnoticed by most. To the management, Emily was invisible, a faceless employee performing tasks no one else wanted to do. But what no one realized was that Emily Carter was not just a janitor, she was the founder and majority shareholder of Greenwood and Associates. Several years ago, after the firm had established itself as a successful business, Emily had handed over the day-to-day operations to her cousin, Robert Carter, who had become the CEO due to her personal health issues. Emily had stepped back, quietly observing from the sidelines for years. Now she was ready to see if the company she had built was being run with integrity. It was clear to Emily that many of the company's leaders had forgotten the values they were supposed to uphold. She had to act, but she couldn't reveal herself just yet. She needed to know how deep the corruption ran. Every day, Emily followed the same routine. She arrived early, before the office buzzed with activity, and began her rounds through the building. As she mopped the floors and emptied wastebaskets, she observed the dynamics of the office. The high-rise offices and expansive conference rooms were a sharp contrast to her humble cleaning cart, but she remained invisible to those around her. Emily's focus, however, was not on the clean floors or shiny windows, but on the people who walked through them. Her eyes often fell on Marcus Greene, the CEO of Greenwood and Associates, a man who exuded arrogance with every step he took. Tall, impeccably dressed, and with a demeanor that radiated entitlement, Marcus treated everyone below him with condescension. Whether it was a junior consultant, a receptionist, or a janitor like Emily, they were all beneath him. His dismissive behavior, especially toward the office staff, did not go unnoticed. Then there was Victoria Hayes, the chief strategy officer, who shared Marcus's smug sense of superiority. Victoria treated the support staff as though they were obstacles to her success. Her frequent remarks about the lowly workers were laced with disdain. As Emily swept the hallway outside their offices, she overheard Victoria speaking to Marcus, both of them unaware that their conversation was being heard. Justified? Justified, Marcus agreed with unsparing authority. I don't know how much longer we can afford to keep the janitorial staff around, Victoria said. They don't even clean the offices properly. It's embarrassing for a firm of our caliber. Marcus chuckled in agreement. They're lucky to even have a job. It's not like they could do anything else. We can always replace them. Emily's heart sank. She had expected this kind of behavior, but hearing it so plainly spoken was a wake-up call. The company she had built with hard work and determination had fallen into the hands of people who didn't respect the very foundation it was built on. And now, she realized it was up to her to restore that respect. Emily continued her quiet observation of the company, growing more frustrated as time went on. It wasn't just the arrogant behavior of Marcus that troubled her, it was how he treated everyone beneath him. Marcus's condescending attitude towards his staff had been apparent from the beginning. He belittled junior consultants and openly blamed them for mistakes, creating a hostile and intimidating work environment. He used his position to make others feel small, dismissing anyone who dared challenge him. But what disturbed Emily the most was how Marcus started treating her. At first she thought she was overreacting, but soon she realized that his behavior was no longer just dismissive. It was inappropriate, bordering on harassment. Every time Marcus passed by her, whether she was cleaning the hallways or working in the break room, he would stare at her in a way that made her skin crawl. It wasn't just a look of disdain. It was something darker, more unsettling. His comments, too, began to take on a more personal, inappropriate tone. One morning, as Emily was mopping the floor outside his office, Marcus walked by and suddenly stopped, eyeing her from head to toe. His smile was laced with arrogance, and he leaned closer to her, pointing at a spot on the floor she had already cleaned. "Hey, Emily," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "You know you could clean this place a bit better, especially when you're around someone as attractive as you." Emily froze, shocked by the suggestiveness in his tone. He wasn't just insulting her work, he was now crossing a line, turning it into something uncomfortable and personal. She forced a smile, trying to maintain her composure. "Sorry, Marcus, I'll check it again," she said, keeping her voice steady despite the disgust she felt inside. But Marcus wasn't done. He took another step closer, his eyes lingering on her with a predatory look. "You know," he continued, his voice lowered to a whisper, "someone as pretty as you shouldn't be stuck cleaning. I could make sure you get a better position here, a more fitting one. If you just cooperate, of course." Emily's heart raced, and for a moment she felt a surge of anger and humiliation, but she kept her face calm, not letting him see her discomfort. This was not just about cleaning floors anymore. Marcus was using his position to manipulate her, trying to take advantage of the power he had over her. "I'm happy with my job, thank you," she said firmly, though inside she was seething. Marcus smirked, clearly enjoying the power he held over her. He patted her on the shoulder in a way that felt more like a show of ownership than an act of kindness. Emily stood still, her teeth clenched, knowing she couldn't take this any longer, but she also knew she had to wait. The time for confrontation hadn't come yet, but it would soon. Emily could only endure Marcus's harassment for so long. Each day his inappropriate comments grew bolder, and the feeling of powerlessness that came with his advances became unbearable. One evening, after she finished cleaning the executive floors, Emily was preparing to leave when Marcus approached her in the parking garage. The air was thick with tension as he blocked her way, standing too close, his expression far more unsettling. "Emily," he said, his voice low and almost predatory, "you've been working so hard lately. I've been thinking, maybe you deserve something more than this cleaning job. There's a place for you here. You just need to be a little more cooperative." Emily's heart pounded in her chest as the full weight of his intentions sank in. His words were laced with a threat, a veiled promise that if she didn't comply with his demands, her job would be on the line. "I could make sure you're not here much longer," he continued, stepping closer. "Not with your lack of experience, but if you listen to me, I could set you up with something better. Don't make this harder on yourself." Her stomach churned with disgust, but Emily stood her ground, her eyes narrowing. This was the moment she had been waiting for. Enough was enough. She looked him dead in the eye, her voice steady and cold. "Marcus, if you keep this up, you'll regret it," she said, her words sharp and full of warning. Marcus's face twisted with surprise. "What are you?" "You've crossed the line," she interrupted him, her voice unwavering. "And if you try this again, I'll make sure you never step foot in this building again." For a brief moment, Marcus seemed taken aback, his confidence faltering. But Emily knew this was only the beginning. His intimidation, his threats, his attempts to use his power to control her, they had all gone too far. She wasn't going to play along any longer. With that, she turned on her heel, heading toward the elevator without another word. Emily knew the time for patience was over. It was time to show him and the entire company who she really was, and to take back control of what was rightfully hers. The next morning, Emily walked into the office, not as a janitor, but as the CEO. Dressed in a tailored suit, her hair styled neatly, she carried herself with the same confidence that had once only been seen in Marcus and Victoria. As she passed through the lobby, the same employees who had ignored her before now stared at her in awe. Marcus and Victoria sat in the boardroom, preparing for a meeting when they noticed her enter. At first, they didn't recognize her. But when she made her way to the head of the table and stood beside her cousin Robert, the true CEO, their faces turned pale. From panic to resolution, the picture changed immediately. "This is Emily Carter," Robert announced proudly, gesturing to her, "the founder and owner of Greenwood and Associates." The room fell into stunned silence. Marcus's expression shifted from confusion to disbelief. He stood up quickly, his confidence faltering for the first time. What is this?" he stammered, glancing between Emily and Robert. This has to be a joke. You're the janitor. Are you telling me you've been—" Emily cut him off, her voice calm and steady. "Yes, Marcus, I've been working undercover as a cleaner, observing the company firsthand, and what I found was disturbing." Her gaze locked onto him. "You've harassed me, mistreated employees, and abused your position. You've failed to uphold the values this company was built on." Marcus's face flushed with anger, but there was a flicker of fear in his eyes. He took a step back, his arrogance quickly replaced with panic. This can't be happening. You can't do this. I'm the CEO here." "I?" Emily's voice grew colder. "Not anymore. Effective immediately, you're fired, and legal action will follow." Marcus, now standing at the back of the room, seemed completely disoriented. His usual self-assurance was gone. "Emily, please," he began, his voice shaking, but his attempt to regain control only made his weakness more apparent. "You can't. This isn't right. Emily silenced him with a glance, her voice unwavering. "No more chances, Marcus. You had your opportunity and you abused it. You're done here." Marcus's face turned a deep shade of red. His pride was bruised, but even he could sense the finality of the situation. His body language shrank, no longer the powerful figure he had once been. "You'll regret this," he muttered, but there was little conviction in his words. Emily met his gaze without hesitation. "I highly doubt that." He was escorted out by security, each step a reminder that his power had evaporated in an instant. The room remained eerily silent, the weight of Emily's words hanging in the air. She turned to face the rest of the management team, her gaze sweeping across the room. "For those of you who have acted with integrity, your jobs are secure. But for those of you who have contributed to this toxic culture, there will be consequences." Several board members and managers were dismissed on the spot as security escorted them out of the building. Emily addressed the remaining employees. "Greenwood and Associates will now be a place of respect, innovation, and integrity. This is the company I built, and it will thrive again under the right leadership." Under Emily's guidance, the office atmosphere shifted. The employees who had once overlooked her now looked up to her with newfound respect. The toxic culture that had once dominated the workplace was eradicated, and the company began to flourish once again. Sitting in her office, Emily reflected on the journey she had just undertaken. The company she had built from the ground up was now in good hands, her own. Her patience, persistence, and quiet strength had led her to this moment. She had watched the storm brew from the sidelines, waiting for the right time to act. When that moment came, she had struck with precision, reclaiming what was hers and restoring integrity to a company that had strayed so far from its roots. As she leaned back in her chair, looking out over the skyline of San Francisco, she couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. The work ahead of her was still daunting. There was a company to rebuild, a culture to transform, and the trust of her employees to earn back. But she was ready. Emily knew the road would be long, and there would be challenges ahead. There always were. But for the first time in years, she felt truly in control. The company would no longer be a place where power was abused, where people were ignored, and where integrity was an afterthought. It would thrive again under leadership that valued honesty, respect, and innovation. Her phone buzzed, a message from Robert. "We're in this together, Emily. Let's rebuild." She smiled, her resolve firm. The storm was over, and this time the company would flourish, not just because of profit, but because it would be built on the right values. Karma, Emily thought with a wry smile, always finds its way back. Thank you for watching till the end. I hope you enjoyed this story. If you did, don't hesitate to like the video and share it with your friends too. Subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell for more fascinating stories.